So today's session, although it's actually both banking and insurance in terms of applicability, and I think the team will talk a little bit about that in their presentation. So we're working on both sides of the aisle, if you would, for both banking and insurance. So today's subject is, are you prepared for the coming disruption of tax and tech, and how the power of an ecosystem can transform your tax function? So I'm going to start out, I'm going to ask my friend, how do you say? Joskin, yeah. Joskin from EY to please come up. He's going to introduce everybody, and then we'll have a great panel discussion. So over to you guys.
All right, thank you. All right. How do you guys want to?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't we quickly introduce ourselves? And again, we're here really to, I guess, make this an informal conversation, tell you what we've been doing, and how tax is really helping with these finance transformations. But before we get into this, maybe we'll start with, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Erika Buzon, Solution Owner for Global Tax SAP.
Hi, I'm Lynn Baird. I'm the VP of Cross Industry for Microsoft.
And from Chicago, we have
Maria Phillip. I am the Executive Director for Tax Technology at Morgan Stanley.
All right, and I am Joshkun Chowushola. I'm also based out of Chicago. I'm a tax technology partner with EY. And you guys might be wondering, what does tax have to do with anything? And we've specialized in financial services. We do banking and insurance and all that. But the biggest thing that we've been finding is, as you guys are going through these transformations, what is an actual business case that can be a quick win that has a solid, good win? And you've been hearing in the last, yesterday and all the other sessions, everybody's looking for some quick, solid business cases that you can actually make an impact to the organization while you're doing this transformation. So with that, maybe we'll start with, Maria, can you give us a little bit about, at Morgan Stanley, what are some of the things that you're going through as the head of tax technology?
Yep, so a couple things we have is people are busy. We've got everybody just trying to do business as usual. And so anytime we need to kind of gather data or get big information across the organization, it becomes very difficult. One of the things is I find lots of teams actually don't even know that other teams see the same exact information. So what we've been finding is that everybody's data and information is very siloed. And while they may have similar projects, they don't even know that, even within tax, that one group and the other group are doing this, need to have the same kind of needs. And then in addition, tax is such a small group in relation to the rest of everybody's needs around data, and especially SAP data, we kind of sometimes get pushed to the back burner. But we do need to get some high-level sponsorship, and that's not always that easy to get people on board with that, especially when we just don't have the resources, the people, and the time. One of the other things we do have, though, is we do have a lot of relationships with people like Microsoft, SAP, EY. It's just trying to get everybody together and break down all those silos and find out what's actually going on to help get that sponsorship and find the budgets and find the needs, communicate up to those folks who need to help us go to the next level with our SAP and our data collection. It's been hard. So we're always trying to figure out better ways of working so that we can actually transform things, transform the data collection and make it easier for everybody to really get there.
Yeah, and so data is a key problem for tax, and I think you guys have been hearing how there's just tremendous amount of data, but at the end of the day, when finance generates the data that they generate, there's also one more team at the end of the tunnel that actually needs all that data. And so that's kind of one of the challenges. But let's kind of rethink through some of the challenges that VPs of tax and CFOs are facing, right? You're hearing a lot about ESG. What's the tax implications on that? In the tax world, there's all sorts of things like BEPS 2.0. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's so many, right? So regulations changing, ever changing, is all about the data. And tax is at a place where you need to really go ahead and collect all that data and run through it, right? Looking through this, some of the other things that we're looking at is the role of the CFO is also really needing to be more strategic, right? And so they're really at the table talking to the board about how we're going to do things, differently. So things are changing a lot, and in Morgan, we are working with them, our client, where we're doing things with Microsoft. You know, Maria is implementing a Microsoft technology to do the collaboration side, but on the SAP side, we're doing a lot of data things with BEPS and some of the other stuff that's going on. But how do you bring everything together? So with that, why don't I turn over to our SAP tax leader and say, okay, Erica, what are you guys doing at SAP to bring the worlds together?
Thank you. Well, before we jump into that, the question I always get, well, tax is not a new topic. It existed forever. What is different today? And you just explained it really well, that it's not just like the internal challenge in the organization, and tax has always existed, but it's definitely different today. I mean, if we look on the outside, of course, BEPS 2.0 is one thing. I mean, it's asking like transparency that was not ever asked before. 10 years ago, no one thought they had to prove tax in every country, but that's just like on the income tax future, like next couple of years. If we look each country around the world, LATAM, Europe, APJ, and so on, government are just investing in technologies more than we are, and they're just asking data in real time, which means there is no time for data correction anymore. There is no time lapse between the transaction and when we submit the numbers to the tax authorities. And that's what is different today, and that's why as SAP we are investing and looking at S4HANA, we see it as a key enabler to generate a tax value as you embark your business transformation. And if we just look how S4HANA is different, well, first of all, it comes with, of course, its universal journal. I'm sure you've heard 10 times already, and it's not specific to tax itself, but it does bring data in an harmonized and aligned data model, which can be a game changer for tax. Because if you think, again, 5-10 years ago, the biggest challenge for the tax department is having data to consume, data ready to use. And that's the foundation that S4HANA itself brings, unlock the ability to use those data and making use from tax perspective. And once that foundation is in place, that's where you can then look at the different aspects of the tax processes and requirements and how you can generate value end-to-end. And starting from the reporting requirement, which I just mentioned, within S4HANA itself, we do have a solution like, if you have heard, the SAP document reporting compliance that provide the ability to fulfill the requirements in real time, being invoicing, audit file, and so on and so forth, worldwide. So it's not just one country. It's not like every tax authority you need to connect it to, you need an interface. It's like a global tool that enables to scale worldwide while complying locally, so you don't need to deal with the complexity of the localization. And of course, that is then complemented by all the other aspects which are required as we move into real time. So embedded framework controls, which of course comes always more and more important as tax authority move to real time. And like I mentioned, the S4HANA brings the foundation, but the analytics capability on top, like PAPM, that I'm sure you are using for other purposes in your business as well, can generate tremendous value for tax. If you have data valuable and you can consume and you can look at your margin across countries, or you can see the impact of an acquisition or selling an affiliate in a click or a couple of clicks maybe, to be a bit more honest, then of course you can generate a lot of tax value, because if you can simulate and predict what the tax impact will be, it can generate saving that definitely there are customers that are funding the entire transformation with that. And hopefully that gave some insight of what is different and what is coming new with S4HANA, but I just wanted to come back to what I said before I started, like how S4HANA can help. I didn't say the tax value with SAP S4HANA, but business transformation enabled by SAP S4HANA. And there are two aspects I want to call out on the business transformation piece. The first one is the business transformation is fundamental if you want to generate value for tax. It's if you just look for a lift and shift of something that was designed 15 years ago or 20 years ago, when tax was 50 days after the financial close, that's not going to work. And if you realize too late you're not getting value out of it, it's going to be too late, because tax rely on the chart of account, rely on your corporate structure, which is the foundation of your system. And if you don't take care in the first place, then the cost of fixing it is going to be just too high. So that's the first aspect. And then always when it comes to business transformation, of course, that's where the value of the partnership come into play, because the system in itself doesn't make a miracle. You need to implement in the right way. You need the tax content and tax rule that need to be kept up to date. But of course, like I said, I mentioned solutions that help fulfill specific tax requirement, but tax is bigger than that. And having additional solution that fully integrate, make use of the same data in a consistent and aligned manner, of course, that's where the tax value is unlocked. And with that, I guess I close by saying we may learn at school that 1 + 1 + 1 make 3, but maybe Lynn and Joskun can show us how we can make 4.
Yeah, and so that's I love the way you brought that partnership to the table, because one of the things that we're proud of is the three of us are working together. 3 organizations are trying to work for what is the best thing for the client. But you highlighted a few things, like one, tax is one of those teams that need data now real time. For some of you who don't understand or know tax, BEPS 2.0 is the European 2.0, the pillar. What's going on is they're trying to keep the revenue in Europe. So real time, we now need to know what the tax return is in Germany versus France versus all the other countries that you're in. And at any given time, the CFO needs to understand what the impact that is to the bottom line. So essentially what needs to happen is tax is a big user of all that data, so they can then feed it back to the CFO. Now, you can use that business case to prove the efficiencies and the cost savings and some of those things, because it's hard to have a really good business case. And to your point, business transformation is critical, and this is where, I guess EY does a lot of that. But before we go into that, why don't I turn over and talk about the non-SAP coolness that Microsoft brings to the table. So Lynn, I'll turn it over to you and say, what are some of the things you guys have been doing, and how are we helping our clients in that?
Thanks, Joskun. I think in stepping back from it, 3 points I'd just like to make and for everyone to take away. There is really a people and talent issue that's existing in hybrid work and how people operate in that space. There are ecosystems and networks that are being set up on an almost daily basis to kind of attach embedded finance within those things, but these are fundamentally ecosystems that exist. And then there's the data piece that we've all been talking about. I'm not going to drain the data, because these guys have done a brilliant job of draining that data piece. But if you then start thinking about this industry and what's about to hit it, when you look at ecosystems and you look at the term payments, like just take payments for a moment, and you think about what kinds of transactions are going to flow through a consumer metaverse in the future, and how you embed that tax calculation in that through a payment system is actually going to become a very important aspect. And we see lots of people asking us these sorts of questions, just given what we're doing and investing in kind of the whole metaverse side of things. So the consumer metaverse will hit it in a big way. And the transactions for payments is going to be a very big, important part to enable that. And the tax implication of that in terms of tracing the flow of money will become ever more important. Then the last point I made was literally on this people and talent thing. I mean, fundamentally, sourcing of the right talent, there isn't a single finance function anywhere in the world that's not facing a real question and an existential existence crisis of people and attracting and retaining the right talent. We have to enable hybrid work. We have to enable collaboration in a different way, and we have to enable collaboration not just within our own firewalls, but outside of our firewalls when you get to this network. So that whole teaming collaboration and providing the right tools fundamentally for people to use and work in this environment is very important. I loved Chris's example this morning when he said, in the past, you'd walk into a bank and into a branch, and a ticker would direct you to a person. Now you walk into a branch, and a person directs you to a machine. I mean, just actually understanding that flow, what you really want is, as you walk into the branch, to know how to direct that person. And there are a lot of tools and methods of collaboration that allow you to do that. So I'll just pause on that.
And from last night's, I guess, final session, when they were talking about with the branches, changing and having hundreds of millions of clients over 3 years in these big fintech companies, that's also changing, right? And so one of the things that we want to talk about is that there's the SAP piece that we're all implementing, making sure that we're getting all the benefits, and there's the non-SAP piece, but then the question is, how do we bring it all together, right? Because I think our clients are trying to figure out all of these questions at the same time. You might be potentially implementing all these things, but all that data that's maybe not in your organization or not in finance, how do you bring all that data? And some of that data is hosted on a Microsoft network or on other Microsoft tools. And I think one of the challenges that our clients are facing is how do I integrate everything? And maybe I'll turn it over to Maria and say, Maria, what are some of the challenges that you're facing with having some of your technologies on Microsoft, some of your technologies on SAP, and how are you getting through that?
Right now, it's a lot of manual and hard pushing through. We have to get data out of, frequently it's stored in Excel spreadsheets, it's stored in places that isn't always easy to get to. Some of it's on SharePoint, some of it's on other drives, and some of it's even in the Dataverse, depending on what it is. But getting it out is not always as easy as it could be. But we do try to use other tools to try to pull a lot of that data forward. But it's been a huge problem just trying to get everything coordinated and pulled together so people can actually use it for what they need to do, whether it's provision or even compliance.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the challenges that you're facing is you don't really, as a tax person, have access to all the SAP data. And it just feels like you're actually, navigating through the jungle of your own organization, trying to get to where the data is born, which is one of the things that Eric is highlighting, is like the more you integrate tax into your SAP solution from day one, as you're transforming your business, these challenges downstream don't happen. And it's a really good business case to show the value, because there's the side effects of it. It's not just total cost of ownership and how many people you're saving. It's not always about just that pure cost, but with tax, there's all sorts of other sticky costs that are happening. And it's quite interesting to see, like, one of the world's biggest banks internally, they're still navigating to get all this. And we're trying to figure out how do we get that best solution for them.
And moving from saving cost to actually generate value, because if you get access to the data, it's not just a matter of saving, but you can really plan your business in a better manner.
Yeah. So what I want to do is maybe talk about on EY. One of the things that I'd like to tell you guys is we're one of the world's biggest, internally at EY, one of the biggest SAP users, also one of the biggest Microsoft users. So what we help our clients with, we actually live and breathe every day. I go do my billing in SAP, I work with my people on teams, and I live the challenges that my clients are living. The same thing that Maria's going through, we are going through. And we've been doing this for the last 7-8 years at EY. We've transformed tremendously over the world. And globally, we're in this I think, top-notch technology that is really, we run SAP, and we run on Microsoft. We do a lot of different things. And we're eating our own dog food, and we're learning what we like, we don't like. We're getting direct access. I was actually telling Erica yesterday, like, can I get these features? She's like, I'm working on it. And Lynn, I'm like, hey, can we do the HoloLens project? Give me your product engineers. And so we're pushing them to talk about what's going to happen 5 years from now versus today. Today is today. We're all working on that. But, like, what is 5 years from now? And that's what you all have been talking and listening to. And for us at EY, what we've been doing is taking all our learnings and all the implementations we've been doing and really thinking about what is the best practices. And we've built a ton of material and I guess, collateral, and as SAP teams would talk about it as content on these platforms, right? So what we do is we first help our clients come up with their business cases in their journey. And most of the people that you've been listening to, you start looking at them, they're like, we started this 6 years ago. Or we started this 5 years ago. We started this so many years ago. But we implemented in the last 6 months. We went live in 3 months, and we did that. But like the planning side and the thinking, it's just getting your organization over that hump takes time, and you need help. And this is where I think, it's been good to work with both SAP and Microsoft, where EY really comes in and really helps understand what the problems are, what are some of the things you can do. And we've been using tax as a very, very strong business case that can actually help you with proving the point as to why you can actually do the transformation, and it could bring you value versus just lift and shift, save $2. That's not the point. The point is we really have to really rethink what we're doing, and that's where we bring to the table, which is the business transformation. And one thing I want to say is, here's a question. I'll take a stab at it, but maybe I'll let you answer this. Did you come across any business challenges which could not be addressed by the standard SAP offerings? I'll throw it over to you, that hand grenade, and see what you say.
Of course. Like I said, it comes with new functionality, which definitely help to address the latest challenges, and we continue to invest, no doubt in that. It's from like saying it's not just what is there today, it's the next 3-5 years and what else to come. But does it cope for every single requirement in every single country, in every single industry? The simple answer is no. And that's also why at the end I was saying it's not about tax value with S/4HANA alone, it's the business transformation that you need to plan and go through with your S/4HANA implementation. It comes with the foundation and it just takes quite a mile ahead. So it's not like just the foundation, of course. It does have embedded the capability that like take quite far in the journey, but which big businesses that without any content, without any additional solution and rules and so on, meet the tax requirement in every country around the globe? No. I mean, as you go through your transformation, you should plan accordingly, and that's why the value of the partnership comes into play. And that's where the partner ecosystem is fundamental for realizing the tax value as you go through the transformation. That doesn't mean you need to customize or do custom for everything you need. That's not what it meant. But also don't expect that if you're operating worldwide across all countries and different type of taxes and so on, vanilla system would be sufficient.
And for me, I'll be quite honest here and in front of my partners, like they don't do everything perfectly. That's why we exist. We tell our clients what's good and what's bad. I think we get paid to tell you what not to do. We don't pick favorites. We can't be in that business. What we need to do is understand what the client's needs are and figure out, because there's a tool that would work here, it could work here. What do you need and what's the best thing for you? And then we come up with that together as a team. And I think in the latest meetings we've had with our clients, this has been interesting to see that our relationship's evolving through our alliance leadership, is that I'm able to go to Eric and say, this thing that doesn't exist in SAP, are you going to build it? Is it in your roadmap? When are you going to get there? She's like, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. I can't say it publicly. I'm working on it. I think we'll have it by October. Okay, cool. I, as EY, won't invest in that. I'll tell my client to wait a year. If it's that critical, let's just do it in Excel until they come up with the real product. Let's move on. Don't invest your money in something that we know SAP is building. Same thing with Microsoft. Hey, are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? Or we try to influence them. We pull our strong, alliance leaders to talk to the leaders at these organizations and say, hey, we need these features. We have a top client who needs that feature. So now we're together working to get these products to do more, but then where that falls short, we actually have EY solutions, right? We go in and say, okay, they're not going to build it. We know it's not in their roadmap. Microsoft's not going to do it. SAP's not going to. That's the whole point of the alliance that we have with them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and build a tax dashboard. So EY has a PAPM, back end with a SAC front end where we do a tax dashboard. We've done several solutions like the global tax platform that runs on Microsoft that leverages all the SAP data, right? And so there's just so much that we've done to help plug in those holes. So I think for being factual, there's things that they might say is there. And then I feel like we know their products better than sometimes they even know. Like we push the products to their limits, and we know what to do. Look at this, and it's kind of a healthy, I think, partnership that we have going on. And I think who's winning in this relationship is always going to be the client, which is what I like about this, is that we're all working together to get the client the best solution. And it's been, I think, a nice thing to have this team. And together, we're trying to tell you guys that if you're going through a finance transformation right now, you are using SAP, you are using Microsoft, you're going through your head and you're trying to come up with your business cases. And you're like, we're trying to look for ideas that are like solid, proven, that we've done in hundreds of places. Tax is definitely the place to be. And if you're in Europe, Frank is the our SAP leader, alliance leader here in EMEA from EY. Just what we do is we create these sessions in either a Microsoft Tech Envisioning Center, an SAP Technology Center, or an EY WaveSpace Center. We get in a room together, we get all the people together, and we start envisioning and trying to figure out, okay, what is it that you need to do? How do I get that? And how do I prove that value to you? And the benefit of that is you're going to have all the people that care about you, that work for you, together, coming up for the best thing for you so that your board is happy with what you're doing. So I guess I'm looking at the questions. I don't see any more, but like maybe I'll just turn over to the panel. First of all, Maria, thank you for joining us for, I don't know, what is it, 4 a.m. over there in Chicago this early?
5:30.
5:30, all right, good. So that's normal, I guess. But maybe I'll turn over to you maybe for closing comments, and then I'll turn over to you, Lynn and Erica.
Yeah, I think that this sounds like this, being able to work with people who are in the trenches every day, who know the products inside and out, and be able to help us fill some of those gaps is something we would really want to, I think it's going to be beneficial to anybody who's in the same kind of situation, and especially large organizations, similar to Morgan Stanley. Getting that data up front, getting that planning done appropriately so that we can actually get the information we need to be able to report up is going to be so helpful. So, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.
I think I'll close by saying that before I understood the value and the power of tax and tax solutions around this, I didn't actually understand how innovative it actually was and how innovative a space it actually truly is in terms of value unlock. I always thought it was regulatory and I had to comply with things as I design systems, and I've been designing from SAP R3 from 1995, co-development in Waldorf, so this is a long journey for me. But having understood the innovation that actually exists around something like tax, when you're looking at payments, when you're looking at data, when you're looking at straight-through processing, automatic filing, all of those sorts of things, it really is an area that will allow you to differentiate yourself in the market for sure. And it is something that I think I would lean into very heavily, and it's something I would lean into with a partner like EY, a partner like SAP, and ourselves, just to kind of make sure that innovation is baked into your future roadmaps and where you see yourselves going in the future.
Not much to add after what you both said. I mean, it's like to take away, don't forget about tax when you plan your transformation. Once you have done it, you lost the opportunity, so don't forget about it. And
You were saying that yesterday. It feels like sometimes people then try to do it, and then it costs 3 times as
it's
much.
way too late. I mean, you can do it, yeah, of course, but you need to re-implement your system again. What are the chances it's going to happen, really, right? 0, pretty much. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, like, whenever you look at tax, don't look only at cost saving, look at what you can achieve with it. And not just what you can achieve today, but also 5 years from now, because tax authority are investing in technology more than every company on the planet, pretty much, to reduce and make revenue pretty much there. So it's think ahead and don't look at one solution in isolation, but look at it holistically, how you can merge things together, bring things together, and just realize value. Just don't look, how can I get everything I need out of S4, like, no matter what, or do you look, like, whatever other solution aside, sidecar, replicate it, and so on, look at it holistically and look how they can be integrated together to really achieve what you need end-to-end.
I'm super happy to have a product leader who actually used to be on the implementation side, so you can see how that background is helping, talk about transformation, because it's not just about getting a tech up and running. It's really while you're doing that, transforming your business. So thank you, everybody. We're, I think, at the top of the hour. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And if you have any questions, like I said, from EY, Frank is the man over there. And from Microsoft, Lynn and Erica, thank you so much. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.